Tonight on Eagle Angle, we recap OC's Coco and Carol's night.
We honor the memory of the 41st President, George H.W. Bush, and his service to the country.
A softball senior student releases her first single.
The way PewDiePie responds to hate being thrown at India due to his ongoing battle with T-Series.
It's decently inside right now. However, tomorrow, baby, it's going to be cold outside. I'll have more weather upcoming and later in the broadcast.
Hello and welcome to Eagle Angle. I'm Kate Rampey.
And I'm Mandolyn Skipworth. Eagle Angle is a student-produced newscast live from the campus of Oklahoma Christian University.
Oklahoma Christian's Delta Gamma Sigma revived their annual Toys for Tots drive after several years. We met with Delta member Trey Smith, who took lead on the project, to find out how this toy drive came to be and why it's important to him.
Essentially what the Toys for Tots / Capitol Hill supply drive is, it's a way for Delta to give back to community. It's a way for OC as a whole to give back to community. We wanted it to be more than just a Delta thing. We wanted to get everyone on campus involved. And essentially what we're doing is between 11 to 2 on Wednesday at the Student Center, you can drop by and drop off some supplies that are going to go to Capitol Hill or some toys that will go into the toy drive for Tots, essentially. How it got started was a couple of years ago. Our sponsor on campus, Chris Hyder, he was the one who actually started this this toy drive for Delta and for campus. But over the past 10 years or so, it just hasn't been around. And so a couple of us officers decided, like, hey, let's get this thing started again. And so that's exactly what we did. We started it, and so how Capitol Hill got involved with it is I ended up working there this past summer, and so that's why it kind of has a special place in my heart. Capitol Hill was a big blessing in my life, and so so that's kind of like essentially how it got started.
This past Thursday was Oklahoma Christian's 42nd annual Cocoa and Carols, where all of the school's music performers had the opportunity to display their hard work. There were performances from the choirs, bands, orchestra, and the steel drum band, all while getting to enjoy a nice cup of hot cocoa. As per tradition, the final performance of the night was White Christmas, performed by all of the school's bands and choirs together. This performance of White Christmas is a long-standing tradition where all are invited to sing along. It was an amazing time filled with great music and delicious hot cocoa.
On December the 14th, many students will finally walk across the stage and receive their diplomas. The commencement will be in Hardman Auditorium at 2:30 p.m. If you wish to watch it but are unable to be there, Eagle Media will be live streaming the fall commencement on our website, oceaglemedia.org, and on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. An OC softball athlete has branched off into something new. Brandon Coons has the story.
Lacey Davidson is an accomplished shortstop and second baseman for the Oklahoma Christian softball team. However, as she moves towards graduation, she has started a new career path. Music.
Waiting for rain on a sunny day. It's just something that I've always done. It's not really something that I was like, one day woke up and I was like, wow, I want to write songs. It was just something that, like, I grew up going to a voice coach, and we always worked on writing songs, and ever since I was like 5, I've written songs about anything and everything. I just recently got the equipment to record for my birthday, so I was actually able to record and go through the publishing process and all of that. It was a big, long thing that I had to do, but it was just something I decided to do, and I set a goal for myself to have a song by December 1st, and I made it happen.
On December 1st, Lacey debuted her first single, Can't Hold Me Back.
It's really just about living the life that I live right now and going to college, playing sports, doing homework, just little stuff like that. Music is something that I've always wanted to do. So it's really just an inspiration for whoever hears it, I feel like, to take it however they hear it and let it mean what it means to them. But to me, it just means that I'm not going to let the things in this world hold me back from chasing my dreams.
If you'd like to listen to the full-length version of Can't Hold Me Back by Lacey Davidson, it is on iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, or any other music platform. For Eagle Angle, this is Brandon Coons reporting.
As the end of the semester quickly approaches, so does the all-important room checkout. To start the checkout process, look out for an email link sent by your resident director that will allow you to sign up for a checkout time. This form must be completed by 5 p.m. on December the 10th. As a reminder to graduating seniors, you will need to have all of your belongings out of your room by checkout time. You will also need to have the room clean to room check standards. The last time to check out is December 15th by 10 a.m.
This concludes your local news. Now on to news from around the world. This morning, the world and the nation said their final goodbyes to 41st President George Herbert Walker Bush, who passed away November 30th at the age of 94. 6 months after Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor, Bush enlisted into the U.S. Navy to become a naval aviator, training aboard the USS Sable. After completing his training just 3 days before his 19th birthday, making him one of the youngest aviators in the U.S. Navy. In August of 1944, San Jacinto started operations against the Japanese in the Bonin Islands. Bush was tasked with piloting one of 4 Grumman Avengers that attacked Japanese installations on September 2, 1944. Even though his plane was damaged by flak, Bush still was able to successfully release bombs on multiple targets. Now with his engine on fire, Bush flew several miles from the island and bailed. He waited for 4 hours in an inflated raft with several fighters circling overhead until he was rescued by a submarine.
After returning home, Bush enrolled at Yale University, where he earned his undergraduate in economics. After a successful political career as ambassador to the United Nations, U.S. Representative for Texas, Director of Central Intelligence, and Vice President, Bush decided that he would run for president in 1988, where he would defeat Michael Dukakis. With victory in the Persian Gulf War and high approval ratings in 1992, Bush announced that he would run for a second term. President Bush also has some history at OC. In March 1992, Oklahoma Christian was chosen as a host for a campaign stop by President Bush. The rally was held in the Thelma Gaylord Forum, where President Bush would arrive at 9 a.m. on March 6th. We now go to Omar Jimenez for more on the funeral.
A great and noble man. The best father a son or daughter could have.
A day of tears and laughter in Washington as presidents, politicians, and foreign dignitaries gather at the National Cathedral to say goodbye to one of their own.
Those who travel the high road of humility in Washington, D.C. are not bothered by heavy traffic.
George W. Bush eulogized his father, calling him optimistic and a patriot.
Dad could relate to people from all walks of life. He was an empathetic man. He valued character over pedigree, and he was no cynic.
President Trump was one of the guests in attendance. Despite tensions with the Bush family, Bush made clear before his death that he wanted to invite the current president to the state funeral, putting aside personal differences and following protocol.
He felt the weight of responsibility as a nearly physical burden.
And though he was a man who dedicated his life to serving his country, George H.W. Bush was remembered by his family simply as a loving husband, father, and grandfather. Today's memorial service embodied the spirit of George Herbert Walker Bush, war hero, congressman, statesman, and 41st President of the United States. In Washington, I'm Omar Jimenez.
In the aftermath of the death of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi, many top lawmakers are now saying the Saudi Crown Prince is responsible. Andy Rose has more.
Zero question in my mind that the Crown Prince, MBS, ordered the killing, monitored the killing, knew exactly what was happening, planned it in advance.
Republican lawmakers aren't mincing words, reacting to the information they just received during a briefing with CIA Director Gina Haspel on intelligence gathered related to the murder of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The CIA has concluded with high confidence that the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS, was behind his murder, sparking tensions between the White House and the CIA.
We do not have a smoking gun that the Crown Prince was involved.
The White House and the State Department say there is no direct evidence the Saudi Crown Prince murdered Khashoggi. President Trump recently put out a statement saying, quote, "The world is a very dangerous place. It could very well be that the Crown Prince had knowledge of this tragic event. Maybe he did, and maybe he didn't." Saudi officials admit Khashoggi's murder was premeditated after surveillance video showed Khashoggi walk into the Saudi consulate in Turkey and an imposter disguised to look like him walked out. Turkish officials say Khashoggi was strangled and dismembered.
There's not a smoking gun, there's a smoking saw. We'll do more damage to our standing in the world and our national security by ignoring MBS than dealing with him.
I'm Andy Rose reporting.
Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Theresa May, has been on a losing streak as May and her government has lost 3 votes in a row related to Brexit. Erin McLaughlin has more.
Well, it was a humiliating day for British Prime Minister Theresa May, her government losing 3 votes in the House of Commons, including for the first time in history being found in contempt of Parliament for its refusal to publish the full legal advice relating to the Brexit deal. That was followed by another defeat over the so-called Grieve Amendment, which gives parliamentarians more of a say over what happens if Theresa May is defeated in next week's historic Brexit vote. And it was with that backdrop that Theresa May took to her feet to defend her deal, laying out for MPs in stark terms that without the withdrawal agreement, without the Northern Ireland backstop, and looking at a no-deal Brexit.
The only way to absolutely guarantee no hard border on the island of Ireland at the end of the implementation period is to have a backstop in the withdrawal agreement as a last resort insurance policy. Any future relationship will need to be negotiated and will need an insurance policy if that negotiation cannot be completed in time. Put simply, there is no possible withdrawal agreement without a legally operative backstop. No backstop means no deal.
One of the main voices behind Brexit, Boris Johnson, pushing back on that, calling on Theresa May to go back to Brussels to negotiate a better deal, certainly building all of it an ominous picture ahead of next week's historic vote. Erin McLaughlin, CNN London.
This concludes your national news segment. Up next, Jonathan Cleverton has your full weather report. Stay with us.
So there you are, shuffling through a stack of resumes and you come to mine. This is it, first impression, my way in. But can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or being the first one to always step up. No, that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent that is dedicated, hardworking, and determined like me. Get it.
Get it. Get it.
Give your town a reason to celebrate, because every Goodwill item you bring home brings job training and more to your community. Goodwill, bring good home.
Action.
Jonathan Cleverton joins us here in the studio. John, what kind of weather can we expect this week?
Well, Kate, we can expect something very, very cold. But right now, it's actually decently warm outside. It is 52 degrees, sunny, but it feels like 47. So it's a decent day here in Oklahoma for December, so to say. But let's take a look at what was across the state. Across the state, we can see that was 57 up in Guymon, 53 in Ponca City, 50 in Salswa, 51 in OKC, so 50s across the board. So overall, Oklahoma had a decent day, doing good, but that is not the case for the future. And I'm warning you now because later on you'll see why. But let's take a look at what it is going to be like tonight. Tonight will be 40 degrees, so it's not a huge temperature drop. Winds will be coming from the south, 15 to 22 miles per hour, so that wind's not going to be delicate tonight. It's going to be pretty bad, actually, so make sure you prepare for that, put on a jacket or something just to break that wind chill. Humidity will be at 57%. So overall, it's a normal type of weather day for tonight. Let's take a look at the weekend weather highlights. The weekend weather highlights will be cold weather coming up. As I said, cold weather is coming up. I'll say it again, cold weather is coming up because it'll be 33 or so tomorrow. Make sure you pull out those wool sweaters because we'll fights off the chills, obviously. Sheep wear them. Temperatures will rise, reaching the teens. It's going to be cold. That's usually going to be around Sunday, but be prepared for that. Let's take a look at the 5-day forecast. 5-day forecast will be 45 tomorrow, cloudy, and then 28. Friday leading in we'll see some evening precipitation in the evening, 33 degrees, and then it'll drop about 2 degrees, so not a huge drop. And then we'll reach that 33 again Saturday with the wintry mix. So we're going to see a lot of maybe icing because it's going to be below freezing, so make sure you drive safe. Sunday, it's going to raise to 36, partly cloudy, with a low of 16. That's what I was talking about. So it's going to get chilly that night going into next week on Monday, where it'll rise to 40 with a low of 25, but it'll be sunny. So just make sure you're prepared for a cold weekend, a chilly weekend. Put on those gloves, those slippers, and that wool sweater, because there's definitely going to be some rain and frost. So that's all I got for you, Kate.
Hey, John. Coming up, we've got Brennan Spear with the full scoop in entertainment.
Stay with us.
Yeah, I did.
Please have a seat. I'll be honest. Your resume, not what I'm used to.
I know.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need a hard worker.
Good. I've got 2 part-time jobs and to help my parents pay the bills.
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find, cultivate, and train a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Welcome to the Entertainment Corner. I'm your host, Brennan Spear. The shoe store Payless pulled quite the prank on influencers this week. Payless is typically a cheaper shoe store, and so for this prank, they opened a store for the brand Palessi, which was a fake brand that was simply their normal Payless shoes. The purpose of this was to show how perception affects people, because people that would never set foot in Payless were talking such great things about Palessi, which again is just Payless with a slightly different name. Here's what some of the shoppers at Palessi had to say.
They're elegant, sophisticated. I just think it's so classy.
And I could tell it was made with high quality material.
I would pay $400, $500. Yeah, people are gonna be like, where'd you get those? Those are amazing.
These are actually from Payless.
Shut up.
These are actually from Payless.
You've got to be kidding me.
I told myself I wasn't going to be talking any more about PewDiePie until something big happened, and it seems I can't go a week without it. This week, the subscriber gap between PewDiePie and T-Series was the closest it's ever been, with PewDiePie only 16,000 subscribers ahead of T-Series, but then the community reacted strong. YouTuber Justin Roberts bought the biggest billboard in New York City. Markiplier live streamed himself talking for an hour about how people need to subscribe to PewDiePie, but those pale in comparison to the big support this week. A hacker that goes by the name The Hacker Giraffe on Twitter hacked into 50,000 printers this past week in order to print PewDiePie propaganda. The paper that printed brought a call to action telling people that PewDiePie needs their help, and told readers to unsubscribe from T-Series and to subscribe to PewDiePie, along with a warning at the end that said, "Your printer's exposed to the internet, please fix that." Thanks to all of these acts, the subscriber gap went from 16,000 up to 500,000 in just a couple of days. And now, during this whole PewDiePie vs. T-Series saga, some people have taken to being extremely vulgar towards India and Indians due to T-Series being an Indian company. In response to this, PewDiePie put up a video announcing that he is raising funds for a charity called CRY, which stands for Child Rights and You, which helps kids in India get out of the workforce since it has a high number of child laborers. By the end of the stream, PewDiePie had raised over £150,000, exceeding his goal by far. Tyler Toney of the YouTube channel Dude Perfect set a new world record earlier this week. During their show Overtime, Dude Perfect has a segment called Absurd Records, where they make an attempt for an absurd world record. This time, Ty made an attempt for the farthest distance traveled rolling across exercise balls. The record to beat was 255 feet, and Ty smashed that record with an absurd distance of 290 feet. The fate of the show Friends was in the air earlier this week when on Sunday rumor got out it would no longer be available on Netflix starting the beginning of January. People were devastated, and I'd say they were nearly in outrage over the thought of losing one of their favorite shows from the popular streaming platform. Alas, Netflix came out with words of reassurance to those left distraught by the news, saying that the show will indeed still be streaming on Netflix, but that it will no longer be exclusive to Netflix, as Warner Bros. Will be opening their own streaming service later this year. So to those it may concern, you can rest assured that you can continue binge-watching Friends for the 15th time in January of 2019. That's this week. Let's head back to the desk with Kate.
Thank you, Brennan. Brianna Barker is here with your Eagle Angle Sports Report.
Thank you, Kate. The Lady Eagles played all right this past week. The last week, Lady Eagles played 2 games at home. On Friday, they played in the nest against the Dallas Christian Lady Crusaders. As a team, Lady Eagles recorded 33 assists. Sophomore forward Katie Mayo led the team with 21 points, 7 rebounds, and a career-high 5 blocked shots in 18 minutes. The ladies went on to win 108-49. Last night, the Lady Eagles also played in the nest against Mid-American Christian. This game was bad from the start, as MACU jumped out to a 10-2 lead, and the Lady Eagles would lose the game 84-78, behind an impressive 41-point night by MACU player Alexis Shannon. The Lady Eagles moved to 5 wins and 4 losses on the season and will play again tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m. in the nest against Southwestern Oklahoma State, who the Lady Eagles lost to 98-73 on November 24th when they played them at the Pioneer Cellular Event Center in Weatherford, Oklahoma. The Oklahoma Christian men's basketball team also played 2 games last week, but they were both on the road. Last Thursday night, the men played against in-town rival, the University of Central Oklahoma Broncos. The Broncos were fouled way too much by the Eagles as they made 29 of their 35 attempts, and the Eagles would go on to lose 82-72 despite having 2 players with a double-double. Roderick Smith had 13 points and 15 rebounds, and Will Leonard had 13 points, 11 rebounds, and an impressive 5-block shot. The Eagles also started conference play on Saturday afternoon when they played the Newman Jets in Wichita, Kansas. Once again, the story of this game was the Eagles fouled way too much, although they played very well in losing in an overtime heartbreaker, 100-94. Aubrey Johnson had an amazing 32 points. The men will also play against Southwestern Oklahoma State tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. The Oklahoma Christian men and women's swim teams participated in the Hendricks Invitational in Conway, Arkansas last Friday and Saturday. Sophomore Jamie McGarrigle impressed on the women's side, where she finished in sixth place in the 50-yard freestyle on day 1. She took top honors on Saturday in the 200-yard freestyle and was runner-up in the 200 butterfly. On the men's side, Simon Mooney and Jimmy Burke won individual events. Mooney, a freshman from Bentonville, Arkansas, won the 200-yard freestyle, and Burke, a sophomore from Deer Park, Texas, won the 1650 freestyle and the 500 freestyle. As a team, the men finished 4th place with 471 points, and the women finished 4th as well with a team score of 352 points. Both teams will wrap up their first semester schedule at the TYR Elite Meet at the Edmond YMCA Recreation and the Aquatic Center December 14th through the 16th. Now, moving on to national sports. Last weekend in the college football, it was championship weekend, and 2 most talked about games was the Big 12 and the SEC championship games. The Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners played in the Big 12 championship game in Arlington, Texas at the AT&T Stadium, and the Sooners won 39-27. In the SEC championship game, the Alabama Crimson Tide faced off against the Georgia Bulldogs at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. The Crimson Tide won 35-28. On Sunday, the final college football rankings were announced, and Alabama was 1, Clemson was 2, Notre Dame was 3, and Oklahoma was 4. The Crimson Tide and Sooners will play each other in the Orange Bowl, and Clemson and Notre Dame will play each other in the Cotton Bowl. Both of these games will be on December 29th to determine who will play in the national championship game on January 7th. Staying in the college football world, yesterday it was announced that Ohio State's head coach, Urban Meyer, is going to retire after his team plays in the Rose Bowl on January 1st. Meyer, who is 44 years said that due to his effects on health, the current strength of the program, and the impact of his suspension at the start of the 2018 are the reasons why he was decided to retire. Urban Meyer has won 186 games as a college football head coach, which is the most through 17 seasons in college football history. Ryan Day, who was the team's interim coach during Meyer's 3-game suspension, will replace Meyer as the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes. This has been your Eagle Angle Sports Report. We'll be right back after these short messages.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
We would like to give a thanks to all those who are working behind the scenes to make this show possible. Floor manager Ethan Fortney, camera operators Tyler Talley and Bryson Weedley, graphics John Cleverton, server Jeremy Fouts,
board op and national producer Cooper Copeland, sports producer Brandon Coons, entertainment producer Brennan Spear, technical director Blake Mayfield, executive producer and director David Young.
And a big thank you to David Journey and the Department of Communications. Thank you to all of you who have also watched Eagle Angle, where it's your campus,
your news.